The rain hammered against the windows of our small cottage in the Cotswolds, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For 20 years, our life with my wife, Gisbert, had been a tapestry woven with shared dreams, quiet evenings by the fire, and the comfortable rhythm of two souls deeply intertwined. I, Alarik, a humble IT specialist, found solace in our peaceful existence, a stark contrast to the digital chaos I navigated daily. I was 46. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Gisbert, always vibrant and full of life, began to withdraw. The spark in her eyes, once a beacon in my world, dimmed. Her laughter, which used to fill our home, became a rare and precious sound. At first, I attributed it to stress from her job as a marketing executive. The demands were high, the deadlines relentless. I tried to be supportive, offering massages, cooking her favorite meals, and simply being there to listen. But her silence persisted, a growing chasm between us. The late nights at the office became more frequent. Gisbert would come home exhausted, barely uttering a word before collapsing into bed. Our conversations dwindled to perfunctory exchanges about the weather or what we'd had for dinner. The warmth that had once characterized our relationship was replaced by a chilling indifference. One Tuesday, Gisbert claimed she had to present at a conference in Bristol. I remember offering to drive her to the train station, but she insisted on taking a taxi. "Easier that way, darling," she said, her voice flat, devoid of the affection I longed for. I kissed her goodbye, a fleeting brush against her cheek, and watched her walk away, a sense of unease settling in my stomach. That evening, I decided to surprise her by picking her up from the train station upon her return. I arrived early, parking the car and waiting patiently. Train after train arrived, disgorging passengers onto the platform. But Gisbert wasn't among them. I checked the arrivals board, thinking perhaps I had misread the time. The train from Bristol had arrived on schedule. A knot of anxiety tightened in my chest. I called her mobile, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried again and again, each attempt met with the same frustrating silence. Where was she? What was going on? Driven by a growing sense of dread, I decided to drive to her office. Maybe she had gone there after the conference. The office building was dark and deserted. The security guard informed me that Gisbert had not been in that day. My mind raced, conjuring up worst-case scenarios. Had she been in an accident? Was she lying in a hospital somewhere, unable to contact me? I drove home, my hands trembling on the steering wheel, my heart pounding in my chest. I paced the living room, waiting for her to call, to walk through the door and explain everything. But the hours ticked by and Gisbert remained absent. Sleep eluded me. I sat by the window, watching the rain lash against the glass, feeling lost and alone. At dawn, exhausted and desperate, I decided to check her laptop. I knew it was a breach of privacy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Gisbert had always been meticulous about her passwords, but I knew her well enough to guess. On the third attempt, I gained access. The laptop was filled with work documents, spreadsheets, and presentations. I scrolled through her emails, searching for any clue to her whereabouts. Then I found it, a folder labeled personal. My heart skipped a beat. I clicked on it. Inside were dozens of photographs. Photographs of Gisbert with another man. They were in Bristol, not at a conference, but at a luxurious hotel. They were laughing, holding hands, kissing. The man was someone I vaguely recognized: Barnaby, a colleague from Gisbert's office. A wave of nausea washed over me. The room spun. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. My world, my reality, shattered into a million pieces. The woman I loved, the woman I had shared my life with for 20 years, was betraying me. The photographs were dated from several months back. The late nights, the business trips, the withdrawal, it all made sense now. Gisbert hadn't been working late. She had been with Barnaby. I scrolled through the emails in the personal folder. They were filled with passionate declarations of love, secret rendezvous, and plans for a future together. Gisbert and Barnaby were deeply involved, their affair a carefully constructed web of lies and deceit. I stumbled back from the laptop, my legs weak. The pain was unbearable, a searing agony that ripped through my soul. I felt like I was drowning, gasping for air in a sea of betrayal. Gisbert finally returned home late the next afternoon. She walked through the door, her face pale, her eyes avoiding mine. "Alarik," she said, her voice trembling. I need to talk to you. I stared at her, my heart filled with a mixture of rage and despair. I know, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I know everything. Her face crumpled, tears streamed down her cheeks. How? She sobbed. I gestured towards the laptop. I saw the photographs, I read the emails. She sank to the floor, her body shaking with sobs. Alarik, I'm so sorry, she cried. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Mean for it to go this far, I repeated, my voice rising. You've been having an affair for months. You've been lying to me, deceiving me, betraying me. How could you do this to me, Gisbert? How could you do this to us? She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and regret. I don't know, she said. I was unhappy. I felt neglected. You were always working, always focused on your computer. I needed something more, something exciting, I scoffed. So you found excitement in the arms of another man. You found excitement in destroying our marriage, our life together. I know I've hurt you, she said. But I still love you, Alarik. I want to fix this. I want us to work through this. I looked at her, at the woman I had loved for so long, and I saw a stranger. The Gisbert I knew, the Gisbert I adored, was gone, replaced by someone selfish, deceitful, and utterly unrecognizable. It's too late, Gisbert, I said, my voice cold and hard. You've broken my trust and you can never get it back. I want you to leave. I want you out of my life. She pleaded with me, begged me to reconsider, but my mind was made up. I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forget what she had done. Our marriage was over. Gisbert moved out the next day, leaving behind a void that echoed through our home. The silence was deafening, the emptiness overwhelming. I felt like I was living in a ghost town, haunted by the memories of what we had once shared. I threw myself into my work, burying my pain beneath lines of code and endless troubleshooting. But the nights were the hardest. I would lie awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the photographs in my mind, torturing myself with the image of Gisbert in Barnaby's arms. Friends and family offered their support, their sympathy, their platitudes, but nothing could ease the pain. I felt like I had lost a part of myself, a part that could never be replaced. Then one evening, a few weeks after Gisbert had left, I received a phone call. It was from a woman named Anton. She introduced herself as Barnaby's wife. I know about the affair, she said, her voice trembling with anger. Barnaby told me everything. I wanted to talk to you, to apologize for what he's done. I listened in stunned silence as Anton recounted her own heartbreak, her own betrayal. She had discovered the affair a few days earlier, after finding incriminating messages on Barnaby's phone. I'm leaving him, she said. I can't stay with someone who could do this to me. We talked for hours, sharing our pain, our anger, our sense of loss. We found solace in each other's company, a shared understanding that transcended our individual experiences. In the days that followed, Anton and I became close friends. We met for coffee, went for walks, and confided in each other about our struggles. We supported each other through the difficult process of separation and divorce. One evening, Anton suggested that we do something to expose Gisbert and Barnaby's affair, to let everyone know what they had done. At first, I hesitated. I didn't want to stoop to their level. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that they deserved to face the consequences of their actions. Anton and I devised a plan. We gathered evidence of the affair, the photographs, the emails, the hotel receipts, and we sent them to Gisbert and Barnaby's colleagues, their friends, and their families. The reaction was swift and brutal. Gisbert was ostracized at work, her reputation tarnished. Barnaby was forced to resign from his position. Their affair, once a secret indulgence, was now a public scandal. I watched from a distance as their lives crumbled around them. I felt a sense of satisfaction, a sense of justice served. But it didn't bring me the happiness I had hoped for. The pain of Gisbert's betrayal still lingered, a deep and abiding wound. One afternoon, Gisbert called me. Her voice was desperate, pleading. Alarik, please, she said. You have to stop this. You're ruining my life. You ruined your own life, Gisbert, I said, my voice cold and unforgiving. You made your choices and now you have to live with the consequences. I know I made a mistake, she said. But I'm trying to fix things. I'm trying to move on. Move on, I repeated. You expect me to feel sorry for you. You expect me to forgive you after everything you've done. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said. But I do hope that one day you can find it in your heart to let go of the anger and the resentment. I hung up the phone, my hand trembling. Her words echoed in my mind, a challenge to my own bitterness and pain. In the months that followed, I began to heal. I focused on my work, my hobbies, and my friendships. I started exercising, eating healthy, and taking care of myself. I realized that I couldn't let Gisbert's betrayal define me, that I had to move on with my life. I also continued to see Anton. Our friendship deepened, evolving into something more. We found comfort and companionship in each other's arms, a shared understanding that healed our wounds. One evening, as we sat by the fire in my cottage, Anton turned to me and said, "Alarik, I think I'm falling in love with you." I looked into her eyes, and I saw a reflection of my own feelings. "I think I'm falling in love with you too, Anton," I said. We kissed, a gentle, tender kiss that sealed our connection. In that moment, I knew that I had found a new beginning, a new chance at happiness. Gisbert's betrayal had been a devastating blow, a painful chapter in my life. But it had also led me to Anton, to a love that was stronger, deeper, and more fulfilling than anything I had ever known. I learned that forgiveness is not about condoning the actions of others, but about freeing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. I learned that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a brighter future. And I learned that sometimes, the greatest betrayals can lead to the most unexpected blessings. A year later, I received an invitation to Gisbert's wedding. She was marrying Barnaby. I felt a pang of sadness, a fleeting reminder of the life we had once shared. But it was quickly replaced by a sense of peace and contentment. I sent her a card wishing her happiness. And then I closed the door on the past and walked forward into my new life, hand in hand with Anton. 5 years passed. I was at home, now living in a new house near the sea with Anton, who had become my wife. We were watching TV when a news report flashed across the screen. It was a local story about a business scandal. Gisbert's name was mentioned. Apparently, Gisbert and Barnaby's marriage had been short-lived. Barnaby had left her for a younger woman, taking with him a significant portion of their shared assets. Gisbert, once a successful marketing executive, was now facing financial ruin. I felt a flicker of satisfaction, a sense of karmic justice. But it was quickly replaced by a wave of empathy. I knew what it was like to be betrayed, to be abandoned, to lose everything. "Poor Gisbert," Anton said, her voice filled with compassion. "She must be going through hell." I nodded in agreement. "She made her choices," I said, "but no one deserves that." We turned off the TV and sat in silence, holding each other close. I realized that I had finally let go of the anger and the resentment, that I had truly forgiven Gisbert for what she had done. And in that moment, I felt a sense of peace that I had never thought possible. The storm had passed, the clouds had cleared, and the sun was shining brightly on my new life, my new love, my new beginning. Time continued its relentless march. I received an unexpected message from Gisbert after many years. She was contrite, deeply apologetic, and facing a difficult health battle. She expressed remorse for her past actions and acknowledged the pain she had caused me. There was no hint of malice or manipulation, only a genuine plea for understanding and perhaps forgiveness. I discussed it with Anton, who, as always, offered her insightful and compassionate perspective. After careful consideration, I decided to visit Gisbert. It wasn't about rekindling a lost love or reopening old wounds, but about offering a gesture of human kindness to someone facing their mortality. The meeting was emotionally charged but ultimately cathartic. Gisbert looked frail, her once vibrant spirit dimmed by illness and regret. We talked for hours, revisiting old memories, acknowledging past hurts, and offering each other forgiveness. It was a moment of closure, a chance to say goodbye to the ghosts of our shared history. As I left the hospital, I felt a sense of peace and resolution. Gisbert's betrayal had once defined a significant part of my life, but it no longer held the same power. I had moved on, found love and happiness with Anton, and learned valuable lessons about forgiveness and resilience. A few weeks later, I received news of Gisbert's passing. I attended her funeral, not as a grieving husband but as a fellow human being paying respects to a life that had touched mine in profound ways. It was a somber occasion, but it also served as a reminder of the preciousness of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. Life with Anton continued to blossom, filled with love, laughter, and shared adventures. We traveled the world, pursued our passions, and supported each other through life's inevitable challenges. We built a strong and enduring partnership based on trust, respect, and unwavering commitment. Looking back on my journey, I realized that Gisbert's betrayal, while initially devastating, had ultimately led me to a place of greater strength, wisdom, and happiness. It had taught me the importance of self-love, the power of forgiveness, and the resilience of the human spirit. And so I moved forward, grateful for the lessons I had learned, the love I had found, and the life I had built. Gisbert's memory would always be a part of my story, but it no longer defined me. I was Alarik, a man who had been betrayed but who had also found the strength to heal, to forgive, and to love again. Years turned into decades. Anton and I grew old together, our love deepening with each passing year. We remained each other's confidants, companions, and soulmates. We faced life's challenges hand in hand, always supporting and encouraging one another. As I sat on the porch of our seaside home, watching the sunset paint the sky with vibrant colors, I reflected on my life's journey. I had experienced both profound heartbreak and immense joy. I had learned valuable lessons about love, loss, forgiveness, and resilience. Gisbert's betrayal had been a defining moment, a turning point that had shaped the course of my life. But it had also led me to Anton, to a love that was more beautiful, more profound, and more enduring than anything I could have ever imagined. And as I sat there holding Anton's hand, I knew that I had truly found happiness. I had found peace. I had found love that was eternal. My journey had been long and arduous, filled with both sunshine and storms. But in the end, it had led me to the most beautiful destination of all, a life filled with love, laughter, and unwavering companionship. And so I closed my eyes, grateful for every moment, every experience, every lesson learned. I was Alarik, a man who had been betrayed but who had also found the strength to heal, to forgive, and to love again. And that, I realized, was the greatest victory of all.